All right, Max, what does this mean? Is Biden saying that his agenda is now the same as what Beto O'Rourke's is?
Yeah, well, it certainly would seem that way. Last year, Biden was sitting for an interview with Anderson Cooper over on CNN, and Anderson Cooper asked him point blank, "What do you say to Americans who are worried that if you win, you're going to come for their guns?" And Biden responded, "Bingo." So they haven't really been all that far apart. But to tap Beto O'Rourke as the guy who's going to be running point on his gun control campaign, it's really hard to separate Beto's policy proposals because that is who Beto O'Rourke was. His campaign was failing, and he decided to try and cling to the hope of winning the nomination by promising every single gun control proposal that the Democrats have ever come up with.
Right, and it was after that, by the way, that his campaign completely tanked and he was forced to drop out of the race because the majority of Americans don't want this radical leftist gun control. There's one policy of his that is particularly scary to me, that is, I think we should put a particular highlight on, and that is when he says that law-abiding gun owners, so anybody who has purchased an AR-15 legally, they have a clean background, they've done nothing outside the law with this firearm, that if they don't surrender that to the government, they could go to jail for that. There are 10 million AR-15s in legal circulation in our country. Can you imagine?
Yeah, well, that's what confiscation means. That's what gun bans mean. When they say, even when they try and like skirt around that and say that they're going to talk about mandatory gun buybacks, well, the government never owned your gun. You can't sell it back to them. But if you don't agree to a mandatory program, then you're a felon. And if you get caught, or if they go door to door and want to enforce the law, then yes, you would go to jail under these proposals. So it's going to be really hard for Biden to separate himself from everything that Beto has said, because he didn't just accept Beto O'Rourke's endorsement. He brought him on stage and said, "What you want for gun control, I'm going to make that happen."
I mean, he basically just wrote a campaign ad for President Trump. You put Beto O'Rourke saying, "Hell yes, we're going to take away your AR-15s." You put Biden saying, "You're going to be in charge of my gun grab efforts," and there you go. The majority of Americans aren't going to want that in the White House.